before I tell you what the most dangerous person in your life looks like, I need you to think of someone. Not the loudest person in the room, not the one who raises their voice or throws things. I need you to think of someone quiet, someone who smiles at the right moments, someone people trust. Because what I'm about to share with you isn't about the person who hurts you loudly. It's about the one who does it so carefully, so precisely, that you don't even realize you're being taken apart until there's almost nothing left. And here's what makes this genuinely unsettling. That person might already be in your life right now. You might have spoken to them today. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you won't just recognize the signs. You'll understand exactly why your mind was designed to miss them. Let's start with something most psychology channels won't say out loud. Evil doesn't always look like evil. We have this deeply wired expectation, shaped by stories, films, and survival instincts, that danger announces itself, that a truly harmful person will be obviously aggressive, clearly selfish, visibly cold. But the most psychologically dangerous individuals are experts at appearing normal, warm even, charming, attentive. And that's not an accident, that's the strategy. So let's go through the signs, not the obvious ones, the ones that hide behind things that feel almost reasonable. Sign 1, they enjoy your confusion. This is where it starts. And it starts so subtly, you'll doubt yourself for even noticing. One day, they're warm. They praise you, seek you out, make you feel like the most important person in the room. The next day, nothing. Cool, distant, slightly irritated by your presence, as if you did something wrong that no one told you about. And so your mind does what minds do. It searches for the explanation. What did I do? What changed? How do I get back to where we were? This is not a coincidence. This inconsistency is engineered. Here's the psychology. Your nervous system is wired to treat unpredictability as a threat. When someone's behavior toward you is inconsistent, warm then cold, close then distant, your brain shifts into a heightened state of alertness. It starts monitoring that person obsessively, trying to read signals, predict moods, avoid triggering whatever caused the shift. Over time, this creates something that looks a lot like emotional dependence. You start organizing your behavior around their reactions. You shrink. You adjust. You start needing their approval in a way that didn't exist before. Because your brain has learned that approval from this person is unpredictable. And unpredictable rewards are the most psychologically addictive kind. This is the same mechanism behind gambling addiction. The unpredictable payout keeps you coming back far more powerfully than a guaranteed one would. And while you're caught in that loop, while you're trying to figure out what you did wrong, they're watching, measuring, adjusting their behavior to keep you exactly where they want you, just uncertain enough to stay. If there's someone in your life where you never quite know where you stand, where interactions leave you analyzing everything you said, don't dismiss that feeling. That disorientation is information. And what comes next explains why it works so well. Sign 2, they distort your reality. This is where things get genuinely dangerous, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, grinding, imperceptible way. A truly harmful person doesn't just lie to you. They make you doubt your own perception of events. It sounds like this. That never happened. You're exaggerating. You're too sensitive. I never said that. You're remembering it wrong. You always do this. Turn everything into a drama. Individually, any one of these statements might just be a disagreement. People misremember things. People have different interpretations of events. That's normal. But when it happens consistently, when every time your perception conflicts with theirs, you're the one who's wrong, something else is happening. Your mind, faced with a conflict between your own memory and what someone close to you insists is true, has to make a choice. And here's the uncomfortable part. It often chooses to doubt itself, because it's easier, emotionally, psychologically, to believe you're slightly broken, slightly too sensitive, slightly prone to misremembering, than to accept that someone you're close to is deliberately manipulating your sense of reality. The technical term for this is gaslighting, but I want you to understand it beyond the buzzword, because the mechanism matters. When you consistently second-guess your own perceptions, you stop trusting your internal compass. You start outsourcing your interpretation of reality to the other person. And whoever controls the narrative of what's real controls the relationship. This is why in these dynamics, people often feel profoundly confused, even when they try to describe what's wrong. The abuse doesn't leave marks you can point to. It leaves you questioning whether there's anything wrong at all. And by the time you realize what happened, you've already spent months, sometimes years, living by someone else's version of your own life. Sign 3. They isolate you while making it sound like love. Pay attention to how this one is framed, because it won't come wrapped in control. It will come wrapped in concern. Your friends don't really understand you like I do. Your family puts ideas in your head. They're not good for you. I just worry about the people you spend time with. It's just better when it's just the two of us. At first, this sounds romantic, exclusive, like someone who treasures your connection enough to want to protect it. But watch what it produces over time. Slowly, the people who might offer you perspective, who might say, "Hey, are you okay? You seem different," become either unavailable or contaminated in your mind. You start seeing them through the lens of what this person has said about them. You distance yourself, sometimes without realizing it, and what you're left with is a shrinking world, one where the only consistent emotional input, the only voice interpreting your experiences, belongs to exactly the person who's been systematically dismantling your ability to trust yourself. This is not protection. This is a monopoly on your emotional reality. Because a truly harmful person doesn't just want your attention. They want to be your only source of emotional information. They want to be the only one who defines whether you're doing well, whether you're loved, whether you're enough. And the cruelest part, you often don't see it happening until the day you really need someone. And you look around and realize they've all drifted away. Most people think they'd recognize this. They think it would feel controlling, suffocating, obvious. It doesn't. It feels like closeness, right up until it doesn't. Now I want to slow down here, because this next part is the one that changes everything. There's a test. It's simple, and it almost never lies. Think about the moment when you were most vulnerable with this person. A moment when you were genuinely struggling, grieving, failing, scared, broken, not performing vulnerability, actually falling apart. What did they do? Not what did they say. What did they actually do? Because this brings us to the final sign, and it's the most revealing one of all. Sign 4, their empathy disappears. Exactly when you need it most. Empathy is not a performance. That distinction matters enormously. Many people who cause significant psychological harm are quite good at performing empathy. They say the right things in public. They know when to look concerned. They can mirror emotional language fluently. But genuine empathy is not a skill. It's a response. It happens involuntarily when you're present with someone else's pain. And it doesn't switch off when it becomes inconvenient. A truly harmful person will be understanding when it serves them, when it builds loyalty, when it generates gratitude, when it positions them as the one who saved you. But when you're genuinely in crisis, when you're not performing struggle, but actually inside it, something shifts. They become impatient. They make it about themselves. They disappear emotionally. Or they listen carefully and file it away. Because here's what's difficult to accept. The things you share in your most vulnerable moments can become ammunition later. Not immediately. Weeks later, months later, in a quiet moment when you least expect it. You always fall apart like this. This is exactly what you did last time. I don't know how much more of this I can handle. Delivered calmly, strategically, when it will do the most damage. If someone in your life is reliably absent, emotionally or physically, in your lowest moments, that pattern is not a coincidence. That's data. Here's what I need you to sit with. If several of these signs felt familiar while you were listening, if you found yourself thinking of a specific person, a specific relationship, I want you to resist the urge to immediately explain it away. Because here's what we do. We rationalize. We say, they're going through something. They didn't mean it that way. I'm probably overreacting. This isn't that serious. And sometimes that's true. People are imperfect. Relationships are complicated. But there's a difference between someone who causes harm and doesn't realize it, who, when confronted, genuinely reflects, apologizes, adjusts, and someone who causes harm and thrives on it, who, when confronted, turns it back on you, who leaves every difficult conversation with you feeling worse about yourself than when it started. Here's the truth that's uncomfortable, but necessary. People who are genuinely harmful rarely change because you love them harder. They change when they lose leverage. And as long as you're absorbing the damage and coming back, you're providing exactly the leverage that makes change unnecessary. This isn't a condemnation of you. It's a recognition of a pattern. And the most important thing about a pattern is this. Once you can see it, you can no longer unsee it. And that's where freedom actually starts. So what do you do with this? Not all at once. Not dramatically. Here's what works. First, observe before you react. Instead of confronting immediately or withdrawing completely, start paying attention to how you feel after interactions with this person. Not during, after. When you're alone, in your car, lying in bed. Do you feel confused, guilty without knowing why, exhausted in a way that doesn't match the effort of the conversation, slightly smaller than you were before? That emotional residue is information your mind is trying to give you. Start listening to it. Second, rebuild your perception. The next time someone tries to rewrite what you clearly experienced, you don't need to win the argument. You just need to hold your ground, not "you're lying." That escalates. Just, "That's not how I experienced it." And then stay there. Don't justify it. Don't explain it. Just hold it. This is harder than it sounds, especially when you've been conditioned to doubt yourself. But each time you do it, you're rebuilding something that was slowly taken from you. trust in your own mind. Third, and this is the long game, start reconnecting with the people you drifted from. Not to talk about this person necessarily, just to remember that you exist in a world larger than the one they defined for you. The goal isn't necessarily to end every difficult relationship. Sometimes context matters. Sometimes it's a colleague, a family member, a situation with complexity. But the goal is always the same: to stop organizing your sense of reality around someone who benefits from you being disoriented. Here's where I'll leave you. Protecting your psychological health is not weakness. It's not oversensitivity. It's not giving up on not oversensitivity. It's not giving up on people. It's recognizing that your perception of reality is the foundation of everything. Every decision you make, every relationship you build, every version of yourself you're capable of becoming. When someone systematically erodes that foundation, the bravest thing you can do is name what's happening. Not to them, necessarily. To yourself first, because you can't change what you refuse to see, and you can't heal from what you keep calling something else. If this kind of analysis helps you understand something you couldn't quite name before, subscribe to Pulso Mental. This is the kind of conversation we have here. The psychological truths that are too uncomfortable for most places to say out loud. The next video is already on screen. It might answer the question you're already asking.